Kieran, we're going to be here with Boxing Bants, and I'm happy to be back speaking with Jay Byrne. Jay, how are you?
All good, Kieran, yeah. All good, yeah. Good to see you. It's been a while.
And obviously changed scenery this time. We're not in your own gym down in Bray, but we're here in Coliseum. And I see you've been training up here now the last few months. How's things been going?
Yeah, it's great. It's just totally different. Everything's different. The standard of spar and the lads I'm training with, some of the best in the country, some of the best in Europe.
Pete as well.
Pete then is Pete and Noel. Like Pete welcomed me out, and it's just been brilliant since day one. Everything is changing, so everything is new. Like it's like just starting all over again, like never have boxed before. So, and then Noel and Jenny are there as well on other days, and they're doing the pad working at me. Sometimes go down to their gym, and I mean they're all really, really good. Like, you know, very good and very learning. You know, the learning is excellent. Like, I'm learning every day. Like,
what made you come up here now? Because I know you were Declan's dad. What made you decide, you know, I'm going to come up with the Pete's and start training here?
After the last fight, I had 2 injuries in my last 2 fights. Not just excuses or anything like that, but I had 2 well documented injuries that my manager Sam knows about, Deco knows about, and the whole lot. I shouldn't have fought, and I did, and I just left the sour taste in my mouth, because I genuinely think I beat both of the lads. I think I beat John Telford. I lost by a point in Manchester in a phone box to a fella from Manchester, 2 weights above what I fight at. You know, I felt like I genuinely could beat him. I beat him any day of the week. Ahmed Rossi, yeah, he was decent, but I think I hurt him like in the first 30 seconds of the fight. But I've been in hospital all that week. I had getting tests and things done and all that, and my body was just run down. I can't even remember the fight. I watched a bit of it back, and that was it. I just always left the sour taste in my mouth, to be honest with you. And a year passed, and I said in January I was just going to start doing a bit of training just to lose weight, because I went up to nearly 100 kilos of just sitting at home, working from home, eating just out of boredom through the lockdowns and all. And I just in January said I'm going to start running and that, so I started running with Carl, Kelly and Dano and that, and I just wasn't losing any weight. I was running and I just wasn't losing weight. My diet would have been about 75% good. It wasn't that bad, and I just wasn't losing weight, and I just felt I needed to do something, because my head was starting to go. I started to get a bit depressed about the weight and clothes not fit me, and just naturally just feeling crap like. So I touched base with Pete, because I was to come out to start training with Pete last year ahead of a proposed fight that obviously lockdown kicked in and all that didn't happen, and I just rang and seen was I still welcome to come out, and he said yeah. So I came out the next day, and I've been training ever since. And I'm down 25 pounds, 26 pounds this week altogether. Overall, obviously, the start, body fat's coming down. Pete monitors and measures my body fats every week. The days that I don't train with Pete, he gives me running sessions. I do track sessions, or I do treadmill sprint sessions and stuff like that. So I'm dieting, my food is all being monitored and everything, and I just feel in a million times better place mentally, physically, and as I said, I'm mixing and training with some of the best around, so it's really positive. Like,
what do you think is the next step for you in terms of a fight? I know you're at the moment you're just concentrating on getting the weight off, but would you be interested in fighting this year?
Originally I came back with no plan of fighting. It was to get down, get training, and then take it from there. I spoke to Pete there during the week, and we did discuss potentially having a couple of fights. We'll definitely not just jump back into the deep end doing what Jay Byrne does and jump back into another big fight. I will have definitely at least one probably warm-up fight that I can actually try implement what I'm doing in training and what I'm learning in Pete, because it's still like I've only sparred a few times, and I go out with all the intentions to do what I'm learning, and you know, be feinting and moving and constantly moving the head and actually boxing rather than coming forward and always bringing a fight, which is where I got my name. Like, you know, tough, go forward, always has a fight, but I'm trying to implement what I'm doing. But it tends to be when I get a bang and sparring, I revert back to what I was doing until they shout into me and tell me to go back to doing what I was supposed to be doing. So I think I'd need, obviously it'll be a few months before I get near the level of going back fighting, because I'm not going back into a camp just to have a fat camp where it's all about losing weight. I want to drop the weight gradually as I'm doing, and then when it comes to the time where I'm comfortable and I'm at a weight that I'll be able to cut for a fight perfectly without having any stress, and I can actually implement the boxing then when it comes to fighting, I'll have a warm-up fight that we can work on what I've been learning and make sure that it is coming out in a fight environment before then I would look at then, I'm not going to come back and start building up a career of beating up journeymen and business, bin men. There's no point in that. I still have been saying beliefs, but I do believe with the change of coach and the change of scenery and everything like that, I do need at least one warm-up fight where I can work with Pete in the corner and he can make sure I'm implement what I'm doing and try and take away what the bad things I do in that fight back to the gym and work on them. And then I do hold the British Boxing Board of Control Celtic Super Welterweight title still, so I'm sure there'll be an opportunity then to defend that towards the back end of the year if I want to, which will be straight back into a decent fight. So
highly ranked belt as well. Am I right in saying he gives you a European ranking as well? Is that correct?
I'm not sure what way it works, because with me not being British, I know in Britain when you win that title, kind of the next step then is you're in the mix in and around the British rankings for a British title or thereabouts. But I'm not sure being Irish what way it works. Yeah. Not many Irish people win it. I think there's only one or two others that have actually won that title. So I'm not sure exactly what way it works. Look, like I've always said it, I don't feel like I'm a European level boxer. So I'm not going to be fighting for European titles. Now, in saying that, the changes, if they do work, like I've seen what Pete Taylor done with Luke Keeler, which stood out. Like, I mean, he went from fighting for Irish titles to European titles and then straight to world titles, you know what I mean? And like, I mean, I would look up to Luke. I used to spar Luke, you know what I mean? And I've sparred him since we've been back here, and he's a great fella, and I've seen the work he put in to get to the level he ended up getting to, which is phenomenal. So who knows, I may be able to get to maybe European level thereabouts, if I could follow in his footsteps. So who knows, you know what I mean?
So you obviously were someone who managed a few boxers as well. And you're kind of coming. You came from kind of generation where there was fights in Dublin, etc. You look at your Phil Sutcliffes, yourself, Craig O'Brien, all that. You're kind of part of that kind of generation. But when you turned over, you were part of the bunch who were a bit like Sean Crane a bit. You didn't have a massive amateur career, but you worked very hard in the program and you made a name for yourself, and you got a belt. You got belts when you didn't think you ever would get belts. There's lads now turning over at the same time now in the last year, a lot turning over. Some of them have great amateur careers, some of them don't. Signing pro, turning over. What do you think of the new crop coming through, and what would be your advice to them coming from your aspect?
I think when we turned over, I think there wasn't that many when I turned over. It was kind of 6 months to a year after I kind of turned over when there was a big influx of lads turning over really quickly. I think it was in around the time when Michael Conlon got ripped off in the Olympics, and a lot of people said, here, I'm done with the amateurs, and they all just started turning over. And there was a lot of lads that weren't amateurs that turned over. There was like the likes of Martin Quinn, as you said, Sean Cray, Steve McAfee. There was like Carl Kelly. Okay, he'd done a bit of amateur, but they all kind of turned over fairly quick. And it was a great little scene there, and there was shows happening, and there was a few domestic fights along the way, and there was some great little matchups there. I don't know, like, if I get starting to a young pro, and I actually spoke to a manager this week. I was talking to him and I was just giving him a bit of advice. He's only gone into this game, and he was saying about a couple of lads that wanted to go pro, and I just said to him, well, the questions I would ask a pro boxer going pro is, and I done it when I spoke to lads that I managed, was, what's your aspects? What do you want to get out of the game? I think they need to realise that this game isn't what it looks from the outset. Like, I spoke to a manager the other day and I said to him, first thing you need to do is ask these lads that are talking about going pro, what's their aspirations? What's their aspirations? Like, what do they see? Where do they see themselves in 2 years, 3 years, blah blah blah? The big thing is, unless they're going to an MTK or an Eddie Hearn or Top Rank, can they sell on average 70, 80 tickets a fight if they're fighting at home? Because that's break-even money. That's how much it costs to fight in Ireland. That's to get yourself 1-0. Then the next fight, can you do it for 2-0, 3-0, 4-0? And can you keep them people interested when you are only building your career? Because it's great on the likes of Matchroom and that, where you see Campbell Hatton. He fights, the next month he fights, the next month he fights, the next month he fights, and all of a sudden he's 5, 6, 7. And Conor Benn's a great example as well. Because they're being given them fights. But in Ireland, you have to pay for them by selling tickets. And if you can't sell tickets, you're no use. And I don't mean that in a bad way. You could be the greatest boxer in the world, but you can't pay. You can't do it. And then the problem is as well for managers sign lads thinking, this lad's going to be great. But come weigh-in day, if they don't have the money, well, the promoter needs to be paid, because he has to pay his costs, right? And the costs are the costs. The promoter can't deviate away from that. They are the costs. So if the boxer's not paying them, then it's up to the manager to pay them. So I just think a lot of the lads going pro need to look at where they're at, what they're doing, and how they can get through the first 2-3 years. Now, if a boxer said to me, like Carl Kelly said to me, I just want to go and enjoy it, I want to fight you. He said, if I could do anything like what you done, I said, right, okay, let's get you a fight or two and see can we get you into a domestic fight, because he couldn't sell tickets, and get you into a domestic fight and see if we could get you a little Celtic title or an Irish title. Carl fought for the Celtic title, he fought for an Irish title, he lost the both of the fights, but in 4 or 5 fights, Carl, 4 or 5 fights, Carl had, I think he had 4 fights, and he had a domestic dust up with Martin Quinn. He had a title fight with Victor Raboy, and he had a title fight with Byrne. So he fought an Irish rival, he beat him, he got the win that night. He then fought for the Celtic title, and he fought for an Irish title. 4 or 5 fights. You know what I mean? For someone who could never sell a ticket. So he never had to put his hand in his pocket, and he made small money out of the sport. It was the best option he could ever ask for, because he couldn't sell tickets. You know what I mean? So there is people like that are happy to go with that. Sean Cray would have been another one that would have been happy to get in there and have a dust up, which he did. You know what I mean? Jay Kenny was another one who went and took the punt. You know, I went and took the punt. And I look at other people's careers and they're dwindling along. They're up at, I don't know, it could be 10-0, 12-0, 15-0. Sure, they fought no. But where is your career going? You have to ask yourself, where is your career going? When are you going to take the step? You know, like that would be my thing on it. Like, I don't know. Like, there's lads out there that can't bless themselves and they're 10-0, 12-0, 13-0, and you're gone. And she's never fought anybody. You look at their records. First 7 fights, they might have, the combined record could be like 5 or 6 wins and 150 losses. So what are you learning out of that? It's okay to have 1 or 2 when you need to get in and implement or practice something. But 10, 12, 13 of these fights, you get bad habits. You get in there and you start believing your own hype because you're beating up lads that can't fight. So that would be what I'd be thinking of it. You know what I mean?
And one of the big differences, I would probably say, you could probably confirm this, I don't know, but probably the biggest difference in your generation and that one is social media. Very, very different to what it is now. And obviously, would you say that was mainly the main difference?
Yeah, come here, don't get me wrong. If these lads are building up big profiles on social media and they're making money, or they're becoming influencers and they're making money over it, that's fine, because the lads deserve to make money. Whatever way you can make money, once it's obviously legitimate, it's a good way. You know, if you can make money over it and you can build your profile up and you can gain X amount of followers or whatever it is, but you're making money over it, fair play to you. But then you're an influencer, so that's your job. That's what you're making your money on. You're not making on being this so-called world champion boxer or world level boxer. You know, that hasn't really fought anyone. I can't fight anyone. You know what I mean? Go and call out someone. Go on to the platform. You've got the profile. People look at your profile. So go and call out a recognised boxer at your weight that's holding a title and say, I want you, I'll fight you anywhere, I'll come and fight you. If it means even going, and I've done this, I've said it to people, if it means you putting it out there and saying, right, I'll fight, so if you're a welterweight, you know, call out the likes of Conor Byrne, call out Josh Kelly, I'll come, I'll fight you, and I won't fucking charge to fight you. You know what I mean? So you put it onto their desk, or I'll charge low money to go and fight these lads and put it into their promoter's hands. Well, he's coming, he's willing to come, because if you're making this money from your career and influence and our sponsors or whatever you're making, does it really matter? Because if you're that good and you go and beat this fella, you're then up here, you're the man that everyone wants to fight, and that's where you become the big pro boxer that's making all the money. So there's other ways around it. There's other ways to skin a cat, you know what I mean? If you're putting all your eggs in your basket and your income on boxing, you want to hope that you're well able to back it up with your fists, because there's no money in boxing unless you are the elite level, and that's being honest.
Well, Jay, as always, has always been good, insightful, and I always enjoyed chatting with you. So thanks for your time, and hopefully get to see you fighting very soon.
Definitely, Kieran, and good to see you. Thanks very much.